truth be told, the only thing I think I loved more than Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid was eating a big bowl of sugared cereal while watching Saturday morning cartoons. So many bowls and so many wonderful cartoons. You know, it was pretty cool when the two merged like they did with Mr. T cereal here. The other day while I was putting together a video about the A-Team, I stumbled across this image of Mr. T cereal, and all of a sudden I started to recall all of the wonderful comments that various YouTubers have left about their favorite cereals from the 80s. And most of these comments weren't about the classics. You know, the cereals that have been around for decades. Apple Jacks, Fruit Loops, Sugar Pops, the meat and potatoes of the sugared cereal aisle. And we're certainly not talking about my favorite, the king of all sugared cereals, Lucky Charms. This was my go-to cereal whenever we could talk my mother into something other than Cheerios and shredded wheat. So anyway, without any further ado, let me introduce you to the 5 sugared cereals from the 80s with some sort of product tie-in that are most often mentioned by my fellow YouTubers. So here are the contenders, the cereals that seem to have been mentioned most often in the comment section of my various videos. I put all 5 of these cereals in a survey for you to vote on, and over 400 of you did exactly that. So here are the results. Let's do it. Let's find out which of these cereals is the one that, as a child, you requested most often in the breakfast aisle. Oh, so many years ago. Coming in at number 5 is Donkey Kong cereal. Only 9% of survey respondents thought that this cereal was the best. Clearly, the arcade game was much better than the cereal. With 12% of the votes, we've got another arcade game. Number 4 was Pac-Man cereal from Kellogg's. I actually liked this cereal quite a bit. It was probably because the Mrs. Pac-Man and the Ghost Marshmallows reminded me of Lucky Charms. Along with Smurfberry Crunch, YouTuber Willow Devereaux is a fan as well. In fact, so much so that she said she would buy both Smurfberry Crunch and Pac-Man cereal if they were still being made today. Quick sidebar, I stumbled across this photo from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You can see both Pac-Man and Donkey Kong cereal in the bottom right corner there. But does anyone else remember Buckwheats? Aside from the famous character on the Little Rascals, the name does sound familiar, but I can't remember if I ever tried them or not. Help me out, people. If you remember eating Buckwheats, tell me about them in the comments section of this video, and if they're still around, I've got to know. Alright, back to the survey. With 14% of the votes, Kellogg's C-3POs have found the middle ground. I remember getting these just because they were Star Wars related. I didn't love them. I wanted to love them, but I just didn't. They were a fairly non-offensive, crunchy type cereal comprised of oats, wheat, and corn. Maybe, just maybe, if they'd put mini lightsabers or some other cool Star Wars themed toy inside of the box, I might have asked for them more often. As such, I think we might have been a one and done with these guys in the Sundstrom home. Still, unopened boxes of these things are worth a pretty penny these days. It makes me wonder what YouTuber Romticklin might be able to get if he were to sell his unopened box of C-3POs on eBay today. Whatever you decide to do with them, my friend, please do not eat them. They weren't great back when they were fresh. And they've got to be absolutely horrible after all these years, even if they were packed with vitamins. Coming in at number 2 with 20% of the votes is Mr. T cereal. This is probably the cereal that I would have voted on as the best of the lot. I not only like this cereal, which I remember tasting like a mix of honeycombs and Captain Crunch, but I loved the marketing for this cereal, which was made by the fine folks at Quaker Oats. Plus, the cereal had a pretty darn sweet cameo in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, one of my favorite movies of all time. I totally agree with Devil Dog 3381 when he or she says that he can't look at Mr. T cereal without hearing Pee-wee Herman's voice. So anyway, through sheer process of elimination, I'm sure that most of you have figured out that the number 1 cereal from the 80s, at least from this motley crew of contenders, is Smurfberry Cruch. An amazing 49% of you voted for this cereal, which I don't think I ever tried back when Post was making it. I wasn't a Smurf fan, so I just didn't get sucked in by the marketing. However, lots of comments about Smurfberry Crunch seem to corroborate the extremely high percentage of you that voted for this cereal. Apparently, besides an amazing commercial jingle for the cereal, it actually tasted pretty darn good. David Davidson said that they were his favorite, and I think Logic Can't Be Broken said it best when he called the cereal unearthly good. I don't know if you can get higher praise than that, unless you're talking about E.T. cereal. Sure, it's not around anymore, but I'm still reminded of that cereal every now and again when I have myself a big bowl of Reese's Puffs. Of all the sweetened cereals out there these days, if I'm not eating Lucky Charms, I'm having a big bowl of Puffs, which, by the way, are great to eat without milk as a snack while watching Andy Griffith, Buck Rogers, or Kolchak the Night Stalker on MeTV these days. So that's it. One last picture, this time from a vintage commercial promoting the #1 cereal from the 80s. Man, those Smurfs were popular. Maybe I should have given their cereal a try. Anyway, what do you think? Did you love Smurfberry Crunch as much as my channel viewers who participated in my online survey did? If not, what was your favorite and why? Remember, we're not talking about the classics here, just those cereals that came and went during one of the greatest decades ever, the 80s. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and while you're at it, please click on the like button. And maybe, just maybe, subscribe to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.